That's how little he is. He's teeny tiny, so cute. Hey everybody, Beansie back with another worm video. We're going to do a couple things actually. First, what we're going to do is we're going to check. I know I've got some houseplant scraps and stuff like that. We're going to pull that stuff out that's not broke down that we know for sure. We gave him a piece of melon. We saw some wisps on that this morning. But what we're going to be doing today is talking about leachate. Leachate is something I think that is pretty commonly misunderstood. A lot of people call it worm tea, or that they're going to make worm tea out of leachate. And that's not something you can do. And we will explain why. Oh, we got a big root mass there, probably from one of the dead plants. Okay, I actually thought this was going to be about ready for sifting, but I've been checking houseplant clippings and whatnot in here pretty consistently, so. But what I'm seeing is actually a bunch of the hulls. Ooh, I see fungus gnats. Maybe my mantis will eat those. A lot of the hulls from the grain. Oh, we got a dude. Let's see here if we can pull him out. We got a dude stuck in there. Whoa, what's up, buddy boo? It's a little root mass of a plant he was hanging out in. He's pale. Was that his belly? That is his belly. So, like I said, I thought I was going to be a little closer to sifting. And I think we might need to leave this in a little longer, which is kind of a boo, because I really need some castings right now. All my plants are wanting some vitamins. Yeah, there's a great deal of hulls in here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I collect my leachate, what I do with my leachate. Well, I'm not going to show you what I do with it, but I will tell you what I do with it. And we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between leachate and worm tea. So let me get set up to show you that, and we'll be right back. Boo, no castings today. Okay, so this is my double bucket setup. If you look on the floor underneath it, this little stripy pokey dot thingy, it's kind of crinkled back there. We don't need it back there. That's actually a shower curtain from the dollar store that I usually put on the floor when I do my work on my bin, any sort of substantial work. Just daily checks I don't, but since we're actually going to be pulling these buckets apart to get at the stuff underneath and then set the top bucket on the floor, we want that here. So, oh no, bugs. I got fungus mites. So this is what I do in order to collect my leachate is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this first bucket up, and you will see that it exposes, ooh, let's set it like that, all the underneath stuff. So then I come in with my little thing. Wow, let's do it that way. And we rinse it off. And then not only are we rinsing it off of the castings, but we're also knocking any worms that are hanging out on the walls. And they're there. This is really heavy, or I would lift it up and give you a closer look. This is very, very heavy. And there we go. Now we have a clean top bucket, and we can set that on the floor behind. There we go. That's done. Now we're going to take a peek on the inside here and see what we got. And we've got leachate. And you can see there's worms all on the side. You kind of see how much is down in there. There's a lot of sand. But there are some worms in there, so we're going to go ahead and give that a spray as well to knock them all down into the leachate. Remember, worms can breathe through their body. They're not going to drown. As long as they can reach the side and lift a piece of their body above the water, they'll be fine. And we're not going to leave them in here, whoops, for very long. So we're going to try to, did I put my elbow in the way again? And a good rinse. So now we're mixing some water with our leachate. Now this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand about leachate is leachate is not worm tea. You cannot make worm tea out of leachate. Leachate is leachate. And what leachate is it is the water being released from the cells of decomposing food, matter. Okay, we've got them all rinsed down in there. And then we're gonna pick this up. We're gonna lay our little catch pitcher down there, and we've got ourselves a little strainer so we can catch all of the worms that are in there. And then we're gonna give it, what a terrible shot. We're gonna give it a pour. That's not a good angle. Let's see if I can do it this way. Yeah, it might be a little better. That bucket's kind of in the way. That's all right. This is so weird right now. Totally unnatural. All right, there we go. So now we're going to collect our leachate. Again, the water being released from decomposing food matter. And the reason leachate can be pretty controversial for a lot of people. Look at that. Almost totally clean. Clean enough for me. Let's put it that way. All right, I don't see any stragglers in there. Cool. So I'll put this aside. We'll collect up our little dudes here and take a peek. Look at them. You can see them all in the castings there. That was in the bottom. So we're going to see if we can spray them off a little bit. We don't want them going down into the leachate through the screen. So we're going to go ahead and pick these guys up here. And watch, we're going to toss them right over there. Boop. Right back into their bucket. Whoops, I just flung one on the floor. Oh no, that was castings I flung. All right, look at that. Mew, mew, mew. Ew, it's so gross. It's silky. Good stuff though. In fact, I don't see, let me get a closer look here up at my face. I actually don't. Are you kidding me? Holy crap-a-romy. I thought I saw something moving. I've got freaking springtails in my bin. I love springtails. I don't want them in my bin. So what I'm going to do, this stuff here is I'm actually going to set it out and I'm going to let it dry. And then I'm going to be using that immediately since I can't harvest today like I was kind of hoping that I would be able to. Okay, grain. There's empty grain holes in there. So we're going to put that aside there. Oop, I see one. I see a little worm. Watch, watch, watch. Ah, I'm going to knock stuff over. Look, That's why you want to do it quick, because they will find those holes that they're being moved around on. Look at, there he is. And they will try to make an escape. Ah! There he is. So we're going to fling that little dude back over in his bin too. Worm tea. Worm tea is safe. Leachate is questionable. This is why leachate is controversial, because when the matter, the vegetable matter, the food matter is breaking down inside the bin, that moisture is running through the substrate and dumping out into the bottom of your bin. Or if you've got it directly sitting on the ground, you know, right into the earth, which is okay. What's controversial about it is, we're going to lift this back up, because leachate isn't considered safe. And why it's not considered safe is because it has the potential for having harmful pathogens in it. So that's why a lot of people don't like to use leachate on their edibles. I use it on houseplants and I use it outside all the time. I don't want it to go to waste. because there are vitamins and nutrients in it. However, to tell you the difference between worm tea and leachate, a lot of people think that you can just get this leachate and put it directly into your plants, and you can. I have done it myself many times with no bad side effects that I'm aware of. However, if there is a pathogen in there, it's in your soil now, and it's going to get your plant sick, and it's going to kill it. And if it isn't edible, it's going to transfer itself into the fruit, therefore into your body. And that's why it's controversial. Now, a lot of people will, when they collect it in like this little bin, this little pitcher, look, leachate only, leachate only. That way there's no mistakes with anyone in my home. But they'll put an aquarium air bubbler in there and hook an air pump up to it to get some aeration in there, because that's one of the things you need to understand too, is this right here is anaerobic. It's been in the bottom of that bin. It hasn't been getting oxygen. I don't think it's completely oxygen deprived, but the fact that it's sitting still and not moving, it is anaerobic leachate. Now you can put, like I said, the air bubbler in there, the aquarium air bubbler, an air pump to push air into it, and that will aerate it. That will make it anaerobic. It's so funny when I say those together. It will make aerobic, leachate, but it's still leachate. It is not worm tea. But it will still be better. It'll still be better because it's aerobic rather than anaerobic. But it does not get rid of the pathogens that are potentially being passed on. Now, what worm tea is, worm tea being very, very different, is when you take your castings and you soak them, like you put it in a cheesecloth or a bag or anything like that. Something you can hold it together and submerge it into a pool of water with an air bubbler or some sort of water movement and aeration system, because oxygen getting into the water is very important. And then they will soak this in the water, and that water is what becomes worm tea. That is worm tea. Worm tea is using the actual castings that have already passed through the gut of the worm. That is what makes it healthy and safe and pathogen free, is that it has passed through the gut of the worm. Leachate has not passed through the gut of the worm. Leachate has passed through the substrate and fallen out the bottom. It hasn't had an opportunity to stick around long enough to stay in the substrate and allow itself to be passed through the gut of the worm. Now, the downfall of leachate, which kind of sucks, and you can't separate them out, is not only is it the water being released from decomposing cells of plants, matter, and stuff like that, but it's also worm urine. Now, worm urine, if you could separate it out from the leachate, would be liquid gold. It would be just as precious as this stuff here. But you can't. It's mixed in with the leachate, so worm urine is lost. I really wanted to sift this today. That's all right. That's all right. We're going to feed them. Yeah. It's looking pretty loamy. I think I need to stop putting houseplant clippings in there. And I definitely need to grind up the grain from now on to put it in, because these empty holes are kind of unsightly. I'm sure they would just be a normal part of substrate aeration, you know, making little air pockets or whatnot in there. But so yeah, so that's the difference between leachate and worm tea. Leachate is not worm tea. Worm tea is not leachate. Now, you can store it if you don't use it right away, because it does go a really long way. Like this amount right here, I mean, it's up to there. This is a big giant gallon thing here. So I've got almost half a gallon of leachate. Now, what you could do if you're going to use it around your houseplants, cut it with water. I would do a 60-40, 60% water, 40% leachate, if that's how you're going to water your plants, which is fine. It's totally, totally fine. Like I said, I do it all the time, but it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not that's something you want to do. Or if you notice anything in your plants that are turning poorly, you probably don't want to do that. But I usually take this outside. I'm sure you guys have heard me mention a million times that I've got a forest right next to me that is in need of a little bit of help. So I usually take my leachate out and give it to the woods. But anyways, you can store the leachate for about a month. I would not suggest because it does go a long way and you don't use it all in one day. If you don't use it all, or you're not going to, if you're going to store it, don't store it for more than a month. And I would highly recommend aerating it before actually using it. Worm tea, however, worm tea is a living thing, especially if it's got a bubbler and it's constantly being moved and it's alive. It's got a live microbiology in there. That's what makes it so great. But it actually doesn't have a very long shelf life. I would put worm tea, I don't know, I'd probably put it, if it was 2 weeks old, I'd probably feel like I was using leachate. Because it is evaporation, your vitamins, your nutrients, your minerals, everything goes stale, everything breaks down, everything has a shelf life. And so does your worm tea. So yeah, you might want to stick with the leachate on your non-edibles, like your house plants, things like that, and use your worm tea for, if you make worm tea. I don't make worm tea. I think I made worm tea one time. It was a pretty extensive process that required a pretty big setup for me to do it in the way that I wanted to do it. And it took a lot more time than just using the castings, which is what I prefer to do. I love using my castings. I'll use nothing but castings to plant seeds and stuff in. So yeah, worm tea definitely spoils faster. But one of the things you want to consider about making worm tea, or even using your leachate, even if the leachate has pathogens in it, if you're unsure, please, by all means, do not use it. Don't use it. If there's any sort of freak factor at all, don't use it. If you're using your clean worm castings, I would go for it. But in both of them, however, you got to understand that this is one reason why worm castings and worm tea and even the leachate is so, to me, vital to anyone who puts anything in dirt to grow. Because it has every bit of building block that you need for your worms. It's got, or not your worms, your plants. It's got concentrated nitrates in it. We've got phosphorus, magnesium. What else we got in here? Potassium, iron, nitrogen. Worm castings have the highest nitrogen of any. You could go to your local garden store and find amended potting soils, and worm castings have higher nitrogen than even those. Now, if they say they have worm castings in the potting soil, I would guess that probably has a good amount of nitrogen. It's a little wet. I'm going to have to get elbow deep in this, I think, and give it a good mix up down deep. Bring those worms on the bottom back up top. But this is definitely not ready to sift for me just yet. Maybe another couple weeks, and I will do that. So let me get them stirred up and get them some food, and then we'll finish this up. Okay, so I was in there digging around, and this is all looking really amazing. Like I said, I've got some plant scraps in there that are really easy to pick out. There's the empty grain holes in there, but it looks pretty broke down all the way down. So I think I am going to go ahead and sift next week. I was going to feed these guys. Yeah, charcoal. Look, we got little dudes up here. There they are. Little dudes. Little dudes. Yay, biochar. So, yes. So if we're sifting next week, that means we're going to be doing something else this week other than collecting our leachate. And when I mean something else, I mean banana trick time, guys. These are a little overdone. I actually let these set a little too long. I thought I was going to feed them this week and see a little piece of this skin pulled off. But it's a little browner than I want. The skin's a little softer than I want, but I'm not going to let this go to waste. This was going to go in their food, but now it is going to be their food. So what I'm going to do, they're both cut like this. I'm actually going to lay them in the bed facing the same way. That way, when the worms come in, obviously some are going to come in this end since it's exposed. This one is completely closed off, so they won't be able to get in that way. But this way, when the worms start collecting, they'll all be on the same side of the banana. So when I come in to scoop it up later, I'm not having to worry about too many worms other places. I can just go deep underneath that body of worms and lift the whole thing out. So we're going to put it dead center. We gave them a really good mix up. We're going to put some of that stuff that's not broke down there. We saw no pest critters, no mites. Well, I did see the springtails. I don't consider them pest critters, but I still don't want them in my worm bin. So yeah, there we go. We got our banana grave there, and we're going to cover that up just ever so slightly and let them work on that for a week. And then next week we will collect the, well, I don't know if it's going to be we are going to collect it, but I am certainly going to be collecting these. Oh yeah, right. I also went and I wrote down all the vitamins and stuff and nutrients and minerals that are in worm castings. I actually wrote them down, guys. Look, wow. Let's see what we got here. We have concentrated nitrates, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, calcium, manganese, copper, zinc, cobalt, borax, iron, carbon, and nitrogen. Those are all the things. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Dude, that's 13 vitamins and nutrients that are basic building blocks for any healthy plant. So how rad is that? Rad. Okay, so that's it then. I know it's been a really long time since I posted, but in my last update video, you can kind of see, I kind of told you my environment has not been very conducive to filming. It's not something I particularly care to discuss or explain. I'm hoping that because you guys are all rock stars, you'll just understand and forgive me for my absence. But it is what it is, life happens, life with a capital L. So, there is one extra little thing I kind of wanted to show you guys. When I did do that last update and I was talking to you about our bamboo, and how I was so bummed that our little bamboo hadn't sprouted yet. Where'd he go? There he is. Let's grab him. We gave him a new location in the plant section. Yes, he's still in the ugly pot. I'm about to knock my silver squill off the counter. What did I just knock down? Okay, that was just my succulent water bottle. But check this out, guys. Look at him. Look at his little frog. Look! He's got a big old honking sprout. And you can see it's shooting straight out the side. I'm turning a little bit. He's starting to come up a little bit, but that's only because I moved him. He was in a place where this was shooting straight out, heading towards the light. That was kind of off a little bit. Because bamboo don't need highlight. They like highlight, but they don't need it to grow. So yeah, we put him underneath the direct light so he can start growing up. But look, we got a sprout, guys. No other sprouts. This top part, you can kind of see, there we go, has really dried out, which is what we wanted it to do. And you see our spices are still there. Look at that. That's awesome. No illness. No pests, no pathogens. All is well on bamboo front. So, yeah, it's good to be back, guys. I missed you. I miss making videos. We got a bamboo shoot. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll check next week when you know what? Because that banana is so soft and I mix them up really well, I think I'm probably going to check those bananas in about 3 or 4 days. To see how we're doing. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming back. And if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. My name is Beansie, and yeah, I love worms, dude. You heard me mention the mantis? Yeah, that's one of them. They're both the same genus. We'll spend some time on these guys a little bit later, but this is just some bonus footage for ya. Oh, my hand is shaking so bad. Look at our little dude. Hi, pretty buddy. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Oh, is your habitat open? Is your habitat open? He's so small and my moves are so big. Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can stabilize my hand. Where is he?